Putin explains why he is destroying UKR energy system. Is it revenge? Well, kind of dumb here because obviously you destroy the power because it's a war. But again, they have an opinion on this. It says Russian dictator Vladimir Putin has admitted that Russia is destroying UKR energy facilities and leaving millions of UKR people without communications, electricity, heating, and water because UKR had allegedly blown up the Crimean Bridge. It says, quote, there is currently a lot of noise about our strikes on the energy infrastructure of the neighboring country. Yes, we are doing it. But who started it? It says, who hit the Crimean Bridge? Who blew up the power line from the Kursk nuclear power plant? And who did not supply water to Donetsk? It says, not supplying water to a city of millions is an act of genocide, and no one has said a word about it anywhere. In general, there is a complete silence. It says, as soon as we want to do something in response, there is noise, din, and crackle for the whole universe. This will not prevent us from performing combat missions. Now, as far as, war goes, power was in the previous conflicts one of the first targets. And in WW2, there was a lot of civilian targets, in fact. More civilians than actual soldiers perished in the second conflict. So it's kind of a pattern as far as when war happens, they go for the electricity. As far as being, doing this because it's a tit for tat, I don't know. We'll talk about that in just a minute. We're going to be having a special guest tonight and a special video tonight and calls. So tune in. Tonight's going to be a really good show. We have Wages World giving us an update on the solar storm headed our way. We have, of course, Survival Living giving us some tips about if the grid goes down, and then all sorts of really good stuff staying in store for you. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. It is a live show, so anything can happen. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Cheesy, oh cheesy, oh cheesy intro music. Cheesy, oh cheesy, oh cheesy intro music. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight is a live show, so stick around. Anything can happen. The phone lines will be opening in just a bit, so stay tuned. Again, the number down below, 2244-00-MARF or 2244-006273 is the number to call, and that, again, is option 4 once you get to our phone tree. Now, as far as this first story, we'll talk about that in just a second, but I want to remind anyone that is new to our show that you can always go to marfooglenews.com for a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. That way you have a source for everything that we are going to say, unless it is an opinion. We try to clarify if it is an opinion or a thought or a theory. That is all done during the show. Now, when you go there, it's easy to navigate. It's all done by thumbnail, getting replaced. We're going to talk about how experts are saying that, of course, the U.S. dollar may be replaced by the won. No surprise to many of you that this is being attempted, at least. And then when you click on that, you'll see that it brings you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that's going to be shown here tonight. The videos, anything that we are showing you is going to be sourced over here. That way you can go back later, or if you're watching the replay, you can still be in on the action. Now, of course, down at the very bottom, there is web content overflow. That is all of the stuff that cannot fit in the 2-hour time period. We have to try to select the most important and the most, we have to set a priority on about 70 stories, and half of them are down there. So make sure to go check that out. That is a lot of sensitive stuff, a lot of the stuff that really needs to be looked at. And if you follow that section specifically, you will be caught up on all of the crazy stuff going on. So make sure to go check that out. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So thank you, Viv B. Survival Living is in the house. We have Mark, iPet Mermaid. Hey, what's going on? Devon Cutmore. And then One on B, Bug Nana. Speaking of Mark, not Wages, but the other Mark from Twitter, I got a couple of people to start watching the Peripheral. What a crazy, crazy show. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. The reason why I say that is because a story we covered last week actually talks about how they created a wormhole and scientists put a message into space-time. Pretty crazy stuff, and the Peripheral has a plot that actually may be something that will happen in the future. Pretty nuts. And then remember to go check out Friends of Marfoogle, marfooglenews.com/friends. You can find a lot of great people there. Make sure to go check it out. Now, Dex, before I move on, that first story, Putin says that Russia may add nuclear first strike to strategy. Now, first of all, let's wait. Hold on. Let's go back. I missed something here. Hold on. Okay, so I actually, as far as the first story that I talked about, as far as them doing this as a revenge thing, what do you think about that?
Well, it seems like the rhetoric's ramping back up. We keep going back and forth on this whole nuclear rhetoric. And I think, it's interesting to hear him talk about making this kind of change. I don't know that it really means anything other than, it's been a lot of lip service coming from him, to be quite honest, in my opinion, based on everything we've seen. So I don't know that it really means that much, because it seems like everything he's said or any red line he's thrown out, nothing's ever happened. And, certainly there's been strikes. Certainly there's this ongoing conflict, but, nothing has ever really come about of all the different threats that have been made.
Now, I want to go over this next piece, and this is regarding, it says Vladimir Putin said that Russia may consider formally adding the possibility of a preemptive nuclear first strike to disarm its opponents to its military doctrine, just days after warning the risk of atomic war is rising. We're thinking about this, the Russian president told the reporters after a summit in Kyrgyzstan. If we were talking about a disarming strike, perhaps we should think about using the approaches of our American partners. We've also covered before that they said, I believe it was Sergei Shoigu said that we need to start using our advanced weapons. Tactical nukes fall into that area, or fall onto the table of options that they are talking about. Many people say, they're just saber rattling, but at what point, do people start preparing for the unlikely, the stuff that we don't think is going to happen? Will it happen? And has it happened before? As far as nuclear, we have just a couple instances of it actually happening, but now we are in kind of a different world. Technologically advanced, you have, of course, a whole different war field as far as, battlefield that is flooded with now autonomous drones and unmanned vehicles and robots and all sorts of other crazy stuff. But as far as tactical nukes, you can take out a lot in a little space of time. If you just use nukes, you could win and you could take a lot of lives, but at what cost? What will that cause? Now, some of the tactical nukes that we know that Russia has, and the U.S. and China, can take out a very specific area without causing too much, collateral damage. It won't send a cloud, going over Europe. They have different ones that they could take out a city block, and just a city block. So they could take out very specific targets with their advanced weapons. They've been saying that they're running out of missiles. I don't think that that's the case. They also covered from that because they could just keep launching missiles, and supposedly they should have been out by now, by saying, it's because they continued making them even though there were sanctions that was supposed to stop them from making missiles. They said, we know that these have been made after October. It's like, well, no, duh. They're not going to stop making things. They have factories. They can make more. They can get the supplies from all of their allies and just keep building. So pretty crazy stuff. And then notorious cartel hitman disappears from U.S. prison system, leaving Mexico dumbfounded. You see this stuff in the movies, and here's another story that probably will end up being a Lifetime movie at least. It says a notorious drug cartel leader and hitman suspected of torturing and decapittating dozens of victims has vanished from the federal prison database despite not being up for release until 2056. Edgar Valdez Villarreal, a 49-year-old who goes by the criminal moniker La Barbie, is listed as not in BOP custody, the Bureau of Prisons website. The Bureau of Prisons says that it released Valdez Villarreal on November 27th, although the Bureau frequently lists inmates as released when they have been transferred to the custody of another group. Nevertheless, Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador sought answers about the missing criminal last week. Reporters asked him about the cartel leader's whereabouts during a press conference. It says it's very strange what is going on in the United States with Mr. Villarreal, who is no longer registered among those in custody. So it says, and we want to know where he is. Obrador told reporters there is no reason for him to leave prison because he was condemned to many, many years unless there was some kind of agreement. So imagine somebody who actually took the dome off of many people, left them in the street with their dome and their body in a different place, getting released after, a couple years. That's pretty insane. It could happen. We don't know exactly what happened here. Dex, do you think that he got transferred or is now a CIA asset or something, or is now in the witness protection program because he gave up his bosses? Or I mean, this guy's the lead, one of the cartel leaders. I guess who would he give up? And it looks like, oops, sorry, I muted you, Dex. Didn't mean to do that. That's okay. So Dex is actually going to be lining up. He's lining up wages right now, so we'll get him on in a second. The BOP did not immediately respond for request at comment from Fox News Digital, but a spokesman told the New York Post that they did not comment on prison transfers. What do you guys think? Wiregrass preparedness, platypus earrings, no. Nate Dampier, what's going on? He got waxed, LOL. Do you think he's actually gone? Do you think he's dead? Or do you think that he got some sort of deal? Jeremy Gale says he's a narc. That could be too. And then respiratory high all, or they did the same. They EpiPenned him. T Rose says evening. Grant Wall perishes at the World Cup. Isn't Grant Wall a player? I would think there's going to be a lot more young players that are just dropping out. Hi Nate, what's going on? Sonja Klein, Stained, says Rocket Bucks. Let's see here. Bones, what is going on? Hey, thank you, Bones, for posting all that stuff. By the way, you can find Bones over on marfooglenews.com/friends. He also has other social media platforms you should go check out. Make sure to go to his channels to get all of the info. Mark Roberts, Vic, Marf, thanks. What's going on? Romaine Jane, the timing of on Assange's newest attention and the release of Victor about today. Yeah, everything with Assange is strange and weird. And then border barrier of shipping containers snakes across Arizona wilderness. It says that a long, thin line stretches across the dusty Arizona landscape. It is a border barrier, but not the customary wall or fence. This is made up entirely of shipping containers stacked on top of each other. The improvised wall, topped with concertina wire, was built by Republican Governor Doug Ducey in August in an attempt to fill gaps in the U.S.-Mexico border used by migrants. It says border communities had been overwhelmed, he argued, saying that the double-stacked containers would reach 22 feet high. Initially ordered, the Yuma County routers observed a container wall being constructed in Cochise County. It says environmental protesters said that the construction was harmful to local wildlife. On Tuesday, a small group sat next to one of the containers. It says, we're not here to cause damage, get in anyone's way, but we're here to do is enjoy our public lands in a strategic way that hinders the placement of further shipping containers, said Iman Harity, wildlife project manager at Sky Island Alliance. So as far as that goes, as far as the local wildlife, I guess you could say if you place those down, the mother and the children of some sort of wild animal could be separated, but I would think after an amount of time, then the local wildlife would just have a wall between them. I guess, I don't think the local wildlife is going to go take a hammer to it and start busting it down like Berlin. But I would think that a thin wall between them, it would temporarily affect it. What do you guys think? Do you think that that would overall affect the local wildlife over the long term? Or do you think that that would be a temporary thing and then it would just be like there's two different areas? Mind you, this is a place where there should be a wall. This is where there should be a border. It should have, security or a fence or something essentially separating the U.S. and Mexico. Let's see here. And then, yes, fill them in with concrete or rocks, says Deplorable C Block, and then drops Family Gordon. It will be torn down if that new Arizona governor gets sworn in. iPet Mermaid, what is going on? Weird how half of them look around in fear and then drop, and then the other half just stiffen up instantly. So weird. Yes. Lots of those happening. Mark Roberts says there's always somebody offended. Yes. Pretty much. Every single day, every single minute. America just won a major victory over China, and it happened in Arizona. President JB was in Phoenix this week to celebrate a Taiwanese semiconductor company's decision to build 2 factories in Arizona. And political leaders on the left and right couldn't express enough how important this is for America's economy. It almost made me believe we're a united nation again. Republican Governor Doug Ducey gushed and said there is no better proof of how important this facility will be than President Joe's visit. It says Mr. JB, who signed the bipartisan Chips and Science Act in July to boost domestic manufacturing of computer chips and counter China's edge, noted the president of the CEO of Apple, which has announced plans to buy chips made at the North Phoenix facility. It says, quote, "These will be the most advanced semiconductor chips on the planet. The chips will power iPhones and MacBooks, as Tim Cook can attest." It says the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's $40 billion investment in Arizona means more jobs, more businesses, and more innovation. But if not only benefits the state where I, the Arizona State University grad, grew up, it's good news for all of America too. So as far as this stuff happening in the United States, we talked about this, how we don't currently have something, and this may actually speed things up as far as if China was going to do something to take Taiwan, then it might be sooner than later. Now, Dex, I don't know if that was fixed and you are back yet, but if you can pop in anytime between now and the next story, I wanted to get your opinion. You remember we covered over the last 6 months about how JB basically had the president of Intel stand up at a speech and say that we're going to be bringing chip making and semiconductors into the United States, and now they're saying they're going to do this. I wonder what the time frame is of how fast they will be able to get these factories up, and will it be enough to make up for the fact that we may lose Taiwan. It seems to me when this happened, it was kind of obvious that it's like they know that Taiwan is going to be under China's control soon, so they are trying to do something to respond to that, or they are going to let China take Taiwan. Dex, are you there?
Yeah, so most experts had suggested that had Taiwan been taken recently, and its ability to produce chips for us was eliminated or restricted, that it would probably take about 5 years, for anywhere from 2, that would probably be pushing it, I think, up to 5 years for us to catch back up and get production running across other countries as well as in our own country. So anytime we see these new chip production facilities opening up, whether it's in the US or in another country, that's not Taiwan or that's not in Xi's country, then that's a significant, a significant sign of improvement from this current problem that we're facing. I think, we've seen the likes of Apple make huge investments to move out production of phones and even production of chips. They put some of their chips here in the U.S. They're already manufacturing them now. They've moved phones production to India. They've moved them to Mexico, or expanded them, I should say, to Mexico, as well as other productions here. And then we've got all these chip makers, like you mentioned earlier, whether it be Intel or others that are build in this case Taiwan Semiconductor, that are all committing to build plants here. Now, building a plant here, again, like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. But some of these plants, I know one of the TSMC plants that was already approved a while back is nearing completion. I don't know what its final date is or if it's actually there yet, but that's been in the works for a while. So there's at least one that's coming along pretty well.
And as far as plants go, somebody said, well, they're not letting Russia take UKR. UKR, that whole situation's not over. They took back land because Russia was sending in their old T-60 ancient tanks, or old rifles, or old everything. Now the entire country is plunged into darkness, and the longer that goes, there's no situation where if they don't have power and water and electricity, that they're going to be successful in the long run unless they get all of that back up. And if they can't keep their power on, it will slowly then turn back around. Wars are back and forths. In World War II, there was a lot of back and forth. There were people taking land and then taking it back, and then taking land and then taking it back. Same with World War I. They took strategic points and then they lost strategic points. Even the most powerful powers in both world wars, they ended up taking spots, then losing spots, then taking spots. I don't think that because the media makes it look like UKR is so victorious and they've taken all these places back, that it means anything. Russia was there. They could have done things to those lands. They could have ended up mapping everything out. They could have done things and purposely pulled back. We don't know. We don't know for sure. And also, they have not used their advanced weapons. They have not used, they just now started using their trained troops, their guys that have been in the military for years and years, and their Terminator tanks. The Terminator tanks and all of their advanced gear is what they're starting to use now. I mean, it's a simple fact that they were taking in UKR. They kept reporting that UKR was taking in old tanks, old rifles, old everything, and barely any of their new advanced gear. That means they were basically taking all the museum stuff and charging in with that and doing as much damage as they could with the crappy stuff before then taking all of their good stuff in. This is Russia. It's a major power, and the media has people underestimating it. You never underestimate your enemy. Sun Tzu would tell you the same thing. Could China's yuan replace? And by the way, Taiwan's a different story. I do think that we could step in, but again, that's saying that somebody isn't already infiltrated into half of our gov that will, just let them do it. Do we go to world war with China? China is way more powerful than Russia. So, and then the fact that China is preparing for sanctions from the world, they're hoarding wheat, they're hoarding corn, they're hoarding natural gas, they're hoarding everything. In fact, they're stocking up on everything. And I almost think that they shut down their economy so they could build up and store as much as they could, because there really isn't many other reasons why they financially took a hit. So they could so they could prevent what we all know and what we all went through, and basically nobody even cares. You've got malls filled from wall to wall with people now, and it's like they were still making sure 0 people got that, unless there's something we don't know. We do know it's most likely from somewhere around their neighborhood, and they may know something we don't. Who knows? And then, could China's yuan replace the U.S. dollar as the world's dominant currency? Here's how the Asian nation's trade supremacy is quickly boosting its reserve status. Dex, will you cover this? So this is, as far as I'm not a financial expert, but one thing I do know is that China is trying in almost every area to one-up the United States. This is something that could quickly get out of hand, and people are predicting that of course China is trying to impede on the US dollar. They are trying to be the new dollar. How would this even work? How could we have a world run on the yuan? People can't see it now, but it's kind of like the man in the high castle, where this is a what if that is an actual possibility. Over to you, Dex.
Yeah, so China's economy has been immensely successful by most measures. Its gross domestic product of 17.7 trillion is second only to ourselves, to the U.S., right? We have a much larger one, but that's huge for them. And they've gotten it all in the last, 10 plus years. So it's also the third largest trading nation in the world. And as we've shown in that map, they actually trade with more countries, maybe not more GDP, but more countries than we do now. But their currency only accounts for about 3% of the global trade. So compare that to 87% market share of the US dollar. So the US dollar is used 87% of the place around the world when it comes to trade. That's pretty significant. So it's obvious that they want to grow that. And I think one of the first areas that we talked about was oil. We talked specifically about that. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the next article or two, as we talk about the continued outputs of that meeting with the Saudis. So, but as they continue to grow their economy, the most important thing for them to do is to push people away from the US dollar. They've got to get people to use their currency. And that's one of the things that's, going to be very, very important to their growth, because if they can displace the US dollar, whether it's with oil to get started, that will be a huge number if they can pull some of that off. But then with everything else, and I think when we look at some of the technology, the tech stuff they've done, they've gone digital with their currency. They've done other advancements like that. And then, of course, they're going around and creating all these deals in these other countries, with ports and with land deals, et cetera. I think that they are going to be able to start to take that percentage that's very small, like 3%, and we're going to start to see that grow. And as that grows, that really means it's the US dollar that's going to be eroding each and every time that number moves up.
Okay, so somebody said that China's economy is about to collapse. I would love to see solid information based on facts that says that, because I know that op-eds say that a lot, and I know that there are a lot of medias that say that. But again, they are now owning huge swaths of American businesses. They own huge swaths of the media. And how can you not, how could you, the same media that is owned by them is telling us that they are going to collapse. If you look at the actual ownership of the media, every media story I've gotten about them collapsing is owned by something. And it's like, well, if they have a 40% share in the news that says that, then is that Ganda? Is that something to make them a non-threat, or to make people kind of just overlook it? Dex, what do you think about people saying that they're about to collapse? Because it seems like since 1981, they have expanded so much so that the richest countries in the world, and again, it goes U.S., China, then BlackRock. BlackRock has more money than all of the other countries below that list combined, and they are investing in China. And then, of course, China is owed by all of these other countries. There's money owed to China. I know people have said that they're going to collapse, but I don't believe it. I think that they're secretly growing and growing and growing, and that's really terrifying.
Well, look, I mean, when the CV happened and all production shut down, the world itself almost collapsed because of them. So I can't imagine a state that we're going to see when they're running at full potential, or even a significant amount of their potential, that they're on the verge of collapse. Like, they're going to have some financial ups and downs. Everybody does. Every country does. Every business does, et cetera. But they're going to, I just can't see this whole notion of an absolute collapse where it's like we've seen with, Venezuela or others like that. I think, they produce too much. Too many people are dependent upon them, and they've got too much money flowing in. They've also been stocking up tons and tons of gold. We've reported about the gold that they've it's been assumed they were buying it, but when gold transactions have gone through that are, double the amount of the entire quarter before, and nobody knows where it went, well, it's going to China. It's not going anywhere else. They're the ones with the money right now that's pulling it in and trying to build up their gold reserves.
Well, somebody said that, they're locked down. Who do you think is manufacturing anything there right now? Every local will tell you those factories that were closed down because of CV, they were still running. They're still manufacturing things. That's the freaky part. What are they manufacturing if they're not sending them out? There was that period where nothing was going out as far as all of those containers were just sitting. There were things still manufactured. A lot of those big centers, the electronics center in, what is it, Guangzhou, or one of the two main ports, they were still manufacturing things. That's why there was questions and even experts saying, are they actually manufacturing things either for Russia or are they manufacturing electronics for weapons? You know, what's going on there? I would look at some of the locals that are streamers that, you know, just got out of there, because a lot of them have a lot of information that's pretty freaky. Videos of those factories in full bore. They're still working as essential. As far as the CV lockdowns and stuff, I don't know. Something is suspicious about it. But again, maybe you guys are right. Maybe they're about to collapse. But if they were about to collapse, that means that they would use their largest Navy, their largest Air Force, their now almost going, they're, you know, coming up on 1,500 nukes. They would use some of that power to try to get money. If there is a country that's as, you know, almost as strong as the U.S., where they're number 2, then they're going to go to war if they're about to collapse. So that's not good either. If they were going to collapse, they'll do something to uncollapse it. All right, and then we're going to get wages on the phone. Dex lines up wages. I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to prep up. If you need long-term survival food, Essentials of Life at marfooglenews.com/prep has all of that. It's all powered by My Patriot Supply, and they have anywhere from a single MRE to a 3-month supply. They now have $200 off on their 3-month supply, which is actually the cheapest it's ever been, because now the lowest price is under $600. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. That's 3 months of food for under $600. When you divide that by 90, that is an incredible price per day. Now, again, they also have $70 off on their month plan. When you go through this, not only are you getting the affiliate discount, you are also helping us by giving us a commission of that sale. That helps us grow. That helps us do all of our things as far as keeping up with, you know, regular media when we are completely independent. We don't have a multi-channel network to back us up if anything happens. If something happens to us, we would be on our own. So go to marfooglenews.com/prep. And again, that helps us out. You get a discount and you get something that you can keep for 25 years. This food will be good until 2047, almost 2050, halfway through the century. All right, and then let's get Wages on the phone. Wages, do we have you?
Yes, you do. What's going on, Adam?
Hey.
How you doing, Fogle fam? What's happening?
Hey, first off, how's your wife doing? Is she better, or what's going on?
Yeah, she's feeling a little bit better today. So I mean, she's on the road there. So yeah, thanks for all the prayers, guys. I really appreciate it, and I do think they work. Just so you know.
I know.
I know a lot of you were praying, so thank you. It's much appreciated. I'll take every one I can get every time. So thank you guys.
Yeah,
really
no problem.
Really appreciate that.
Well, they do work. And then, so let's see here. So there was an event that happened over the last 24 hours or 48 hours. Do you want to go over what this first piece is? I just opened up the first video.
The first video there, the sun diver. That's just another sun diver. I thought I'd show it to you guys real quick. It's these things always amaze me. It doesn't look all that significant when you look at it on like a video like what you're showing right now. It just you guys got to understand that thing is huge, and for us to see it 93 million miles away is it just really just floors me every time. These are comets that we know that are in orbit around our sun, but we don't really know the actual position of all of them or how many are there. But we do know they're from like a comet that had, whatever, hundreds of years ago, even thousands of years ago. We just happened to pass through that debris. And these comets become in orbit around our sun, very long elliptical years and years and years orbits. And every once in a while, they'll come closer to the sun and they'll get sucked in. Eventually, they all do
Now,
if they don't get ate up by Jupiter.
just to clarify what we're looking at, it's the item that's going up the screen from the bottom to the top. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah. Yep. That's how fast it's moving. And, every once in a while, you'll get one that actually just grazes. It doesn't even go into the sun. It'll actually flip back. We'll catch it, and it'll flip it back and throw it back out into orbit. And then when it comes back around again, it's slowly, they just kind of, slowly move towards the sun in orbit each time they come by. And eventually the sun just sucks them in. Most of them never make it to the surface. So usually the sun just eats it up before it gets there.
Wow.
They're made of, mostly these things are made of ice. So, I mean, yeah, so they kind of burn up. But the second one there is that right there is, if you play that video there, you will see a lot of eruptions. And this is kind of a partial side view now. This satellite you're looking at used to actually be 90 degrees in our orbit. So it used to be like a side view of our sun where we could actually see the back of it. Well, the satellite's no longer in that position. It is very close to us now. It's almost from our view. And it was designed that way. These satellites have been out there for over 20 years. So it's already outlived its life, but it's still working. So we still use it. But what you're looking at there, those are CMEs. Those are eruptions just in one day. And I wanted to show you guys this because none of these are coming at us. And this has been the theme. We've had so many big, large eruptions this sun cycle that have just not come at us at all. Even the ones that were supposed to give us some glancing blows, they either did give us a glancing blow and didn't affect us very much, or they missed us completely. And I think the reason I bring this up is the fact I don't want people to let their guard down, because this will not hold. It ain't going to hold. It never will. It's eventually one of them is going to come at us. And, what we've been seeing here lately is coronal holes is actually what's been giving us our storm level stuff. And that's exactly what happened back on, I think it was the 7th. We actually were in a G1 level storm. If you want to go to the next video, Adam, you can. That'll be, I think that's the picture of the sun, if I remember that correctly. But we actually went into what they call a CIR. It's a co-rotating interaction region. And I'm not going to bore you with any of the technical stuff of that. Essentially what it is it's two streams of solar wind, one moving faster than the other. It's the area in between those two. What happens is the particles get built up and they become very dense. And what it does is when it hits us, it causes shock waves. So a lot of times these CIRs will, take us from a 0 to storm level immediate. Our magnetic field really can't sense it coming because of what's in front of it. And then it gets into the middle and it kind of takes, our magnetic field, I guess, by surprise, if you want to use those words. But what you're looking at there, what's interesting about this is I was able to catch, and this is a 4-day loop, okay, and I just sped it up. You're seeing two long coronal holes. And what's interesting is you get to actually see one develop. If you look on the left, as it rotates through, the one on the right was the one that has already been here. On the way. Now, whether or not it puts us in the storm level again, that's and we did definitely connect to that. And the solar wind speed actually was sustained at almost 2 million miles per hour for, it was over 12 hours. I think it was even close to 24. And that's substantial because we haven't had an event like, I don't want to call it an event. We haven't had a situation like that in quite some time. And it's actually kind of surprising because we used to actually see that quite often. So these things are going to start upticking. We're going to start seeing these things more and more and more. especially as we, get more closer to solar maximum, which we're actually getting fairly close to. And, they only gauge that by the amount of sunspots that we see. That's the only marker they use to see if we're in solar maximum. So it speaks nothing to the strength of what it's actually shooting at us or what's actually happening as far as the intensity of it. All it does is it just speaks to the number of sunspots that we can see. But it does give us a good idea where we're at as far as, our place in the sun cycle.
Well, wages,
so,
and then
yeah, go ahead.
As far as all of these big storms happening, they just keep popping off. Every time that these pop off and don't hit us, it's like we're in the lotto right now, and one of these, the odds are that these are going to keep popping off, and we're not even at solar maximum. So can you explain to anybody that's new to following all of the solar stuff why 2024 and 2025 is rumored to be where all of this stuff could happen, where this could, pop, and then one happened to be at us? And remember, these images, especially that last one, when those are blasting out, the Earth is about this tiny on the screen when you're seeing that. So if one of those big ones came at us, we would be screwed. If it came directly at us, we would be in a lot of trouble. Can you explain why 2024, why everybody talks about that, other than, Deagle report and all these predictions?
Yeah, first of all, I would say you're exactly correct on everything you just said, first off. But second, like the analogy you use as the lottery, that's awesome, because that's really what it is. We can't dodge it forever. It's just not going to happen, guys. I mean, it's just, simple numbers is going to tell you that cannot hold. And to the 2024-25 thing, we will be at solar maximum at that point. So what that means is the sun will be as active as it gets in the sun cycle. So what that does is, again, back to the lottery analogy, it increases our chances. We bought more tickets, I guess, if you want to use that. I like that, Adam, by the way. That's pretty cool. Anyway, we bought more tickets. As we move more closer to 24, 25, the chances of these things coming they're just going to start coming. And eventually we're just not going to, we're not going to be able to dodge it or miss it or whatever, however you want to put that out there. But, most people will tell you this, even mainstream or educated, very highly educated people will tell you that a grid down situation is most likely going to come from a double tap from two smaller coronal mass ejections. So that's something that people don't talk about a whole lot, because, yes, they're going to be sizable. Both of them would have to be an X class and, have all the right characteristics. But as far as, if we took say an X30 and then got hit with an X30 really close, like two of them back to back, that would almost be worse than getting hit with like an X50. So it really does, because our magnetic field has to have time to come back to some sort of ambient, condition or position to be able to allow our magnetic field to do what it's supposed to do. And when we're getting compressed by getting hit with the CME, and then when we get compressed, we push back. So we rapidly expand back out. And when we do that, that actually almost weakens our magnetic field, because things are getting pushed out and stretched. So if there's a CME coming right behind, when that happens, stuff gets in really, really easy. And that's a very layman's way to put it, but I want to put it that way so everybody understands it. I don't think it's necessary to go down some big technical words. I can understand it when I read it, but I'm not going to put it out there like that, because I don't think it's beneficial to anybody. But that's exactly what we got to look for. We got to look for those types of things. And I tell my viewers this all the time. There's probably a 90% chance, if it's a grid down situation, I'm not going to have a chance to tell anybody. It's just going to be here too quick. And that's just what it's going to be. Now, there is that off chance if we see something big coming, it might take a day. Because typically CMEs take 3 to 5 days to get here. The bigger ones that we're talking about will go down a day or less. So these things speed up. And just like I said a minute ago, with solar wind up to 2 million miles per hour, we haven't seen that kind of consistent high solar wind almost this whole sun cycle. It's been a few years since we've seen it last that long. And so what I'm saying is these things are going to start, we're starting to see them. And we are in an uptick part inside. It's a cycle inside our cycle. And I'm not going to get into too much into that. But here in the next, at the end of December into January and stuff, you're going to start seeing things really, really take an uptick. And, you know, and I would also say this, keep in mind, we dodged one back in 2017 anyway. I think it was, 2017 or 2000. Yeah, it's 2017, because 2019, we actually got hit with a pretty decent one. But 2017, there was one that 12 hours earlier, we might not be having this conversation. It was really that strong. They were saying that it was as strong as what they've seen ever. It just didn't come at us. And 12 hours earlier, 12 to 24 hours earlier, we might have had a different thing going on right now.
We wouldn't have YouTube.
So that's how close this. Yeah, we wouldn't have internet. We wouldn't have electricity. None of that stuff would be here. It just wouldn't be here. So it was that big.
Wages, I want to thank you for I want to thank you for coming on and giving us this information. It also kind of it goes to I get the comment like, you know, you should not spread fear. I told my mods too to let people know, and basically that they need to realize that this is an audience of all adults. We have almost no one under 24. We are adults who like to talk about these scenarios. This is news from a prepper standpoint. And like Wages just pointed out, if any of these scenarios happen, I won't be able to come on to YouTube and tell you about it. It is something that you need to prepare for before it happens. And even if it is something that is highly unlikely, which again, the solar events it is a when it happens, not an if it happens. It absolutely will happen. And they say it happens on average every 150 years, or 140 years actually, that we get a Carrington level event hitting Earth. The last time it happened, we had telegraph wires, catch fire, and telegraph headsets catch fire. And at that point, we had a very simple system. This is going to be the first time the next time a Carrington level event hits, it's going to be the first time we have modern civilization with 10 times more sensitive equipment all over the world getting hit. It's not going to be a pretty picture. Just like as if, they built metropolises all along the West Coast. Somebody just pointed out that California had a 4.6 earthquake. Somebody might not bat an eyelash at that, but any kind of earthquake on the West Coast, people are looking for, one, San Andreas, and two, the Cascadia subduction zone. We will have a 9.0 earthquake with a tsunami. And over the last 300 years, they've built metropolises all along it. So millions of people will either be displaced or dead at some point in our near future. And it's like people don't want to hear about it. They want to fix it after it's broken. And that's an American thing. I don't know about Europe and everywhere else, but we've talked about Japan. Japan will make all of their buildings. They'll write a check for billions of dollars that will never benefit the people that are alive in Japan right now. They will write that check for their great-great-grandchildren to save future generations, because that's how their culture works. We don't. We fix things when it's broken. We talk about it after it happens. That shouldn't be an adult thing to do. Anything else, you are trying to responsibly prepare for something. You don't get car insurance because you know you're going to get in a car accident. You get car insurance because you think you may. You know that it's a possibility, and it's a low possibility, right? Well, it's actually a lot higher than most people think. Planes crash. These things happen. As far as the level, you get insurance on your electronics in case you drop your phone. You don't do it, knowing you're going to be dropping your phone. It may happen. And that's what people need to start looking at. This isn't to make people afraid. It's to put the fire to their feet and say, hey, this is what responsible people do. They prepare for the unlikely. And then when the unlikely happens, you're sitting comfortable while everybody else is banging on doors going, what do I do? We don't have any food. We don't have any water. We don't have any electricity. Because people take it for granted. They want to fix things after it's done. I just think it's crazy that people aren't preparing for this, that people have 3 days of food in their fridge at any given time when they've had plenty of time, plenty of warning to end up getting their stuff ready. Go ahead, Wages.
Couldn't have said it any better. Well, you couldn't have said it any better, Adam. I mean, honestly, all that stuff you just said is 100% correct. And, and again, I get that on my channel too. I think anybody that talks about anything that has to do with any kind of catastrophism, there's a channel, Suspicious Observer. He gets all this stuff all the time, and that's all he does. He talks about catastrophism, but he does it in an intelligent way. So, it's what I'm saying is that these are cycles. These are things that we can recognize, and we need to be paying attention to this. We need to be paying attention to all of it, and everything you just said there. And again, I think the analogy, hey, this is news from a prepper standpoint, that is so spot on. It's how everybody should be looking at everything. So, and I appreciate it. I know that, and I know that we're going to, that stuff we see with the fear monger stuff, that that's never not going to be there. But I really hope even those people really truly try to take at least a little bit of our advice and at least try to do something. So anyway,
well, thank you for calling in tonight, Wages. It was definitely very informative, and I appreciate it. And thank you so much. And remember, Wages also has another channel that he runs with Thomas from the Lifeboat, which is The Lifeboat.
Yep.
And that talks about addiction and recovery, and they dig into a lot of subjects that are incredibly controversial. Make sure to go over and check it out. It's a great channel. If you are going through addiction, and if you are in recovery right now, or if you're trying to be, it's a great channel, and it's definitely a very necessary thing in today's day and age. So thank you, Wages, and thank you for what you do for that community as well.
All right. See you guys. Love you, Food Fam. I'll be in the chat.
All righty. Thank you, Wages. So we have attached these. We've attached his website and his channel over on marfooglenews.com. If you want to go check out his channel, it's Wages World, WAGES World. And then, of course, his Lifeboat channel is also on the Marfoogle Friends page as well. He is down here. He's going to be moved up. Oh, no, he did get moved up. Okay, so we've got him under the mods now. So make sure to go check him out. Again, alphabetically, he's last. But now he's much higher. He was at the very bottom of the Friends page. Now he's at the top of the Friends and at the bottom of the mods. All right, and then Xi Jinping's visit to Saudi Arabia is bad news for the Kremlin. This isn't, we're going to fly through a few of these because we're on a time schedule, but this is bad news, of course, for the U.S. The U.S. was treated, like kings in Saudi Arabia, literally had the red carpet roll out, and I guess in Xi's case, the purple carpet. But essentially, they are doing deals, and this could be very bad for us. As far as oil and all of the different things that, our governments are talking about getting rid of and all of this, some of the other countries are actually kicking it up a notch. It says Chinese leader Xi Jinping and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman met this week at Riyadh to discuss oil trade and big issues. It says the leaders of Saudi Arabia and China met in Riyadh. Xi Jinping's first visit there since 2016. He and his counterpart, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, agreed meet more often and signed a number of deals broadly aimed at aligning the country's midterm development agendas, China's Belt and Road Initiative, and Saudi's Vision 2030. Remember, that 2030 is across the planet. They're doing a lot of stuff behind closed doors that none of us know exactly what's going on here, but life is going to change in the next 8 years. That is for sure. At the heart of the Chinese-Saudi relations is oil. No specific oil deals were discussed during the meeting, but the Riyadh meeting was clearly a chance for the countries to firm up their long-standing energy trade relations. Saudi Arabia is the top supplier of oil to China, and China is its biggest oil customer, importing $43.9 billion in Saudi crude in 2021. Dex, go ahead.
Just a minor thing. You said were discussed. It's were disclosed. I can guarantee you they were discussed.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
No, just I don't want anybody to take that wrong, because that's what this is about. I know I could bet $1 million that they talked about oil. They had to. It's the big thing, and that's why it's so scary. Also for for Vlad. If you think about it, Vlad, the only person he's had to sell his oil to was Xi, right? Nobody else could buy it because of the embargoes and stuff. So if Xi strikes a bigger deal or a better deal with somebody more stable, because buying from Vlad is unstable because of all the conflict and the sanctions, if they can strike a much more stable deal with the Saudis for a larger amount, then that could displace the amount that they would actually buy from Vlad, or even push down the price of Vlad's oil because of that, because they wouldn't want to pay a premium for it anymore.
Yeah, imagine China end up screwing Vlad and leaving him by the wayside. And then massive fire with explosions hit shopping mall in Moscow. So some of the images that came out of this is pretty extreme. Obviously, that does not look good. The fire area is 17,000 square meters, and it has the highest complexity level. It says emergency service official reported the fire broke out on the roof of the OBI supermarket. Large explosions in the store were captured on video. Published on Telegram, it is thought that the gas canisters and paint cans exploded inside the building. The roof of the store reportedly collapsed as the result of one of the explosions. It was reported in Russian media that a short circuit in the storage area with wooden products caused the fire. So they're not saying that it is conflict related. On Twitter, there are lots of theories going around that it may have been on purpose. I don't know either way, but it was a huge event. Do we have, is there a number of injured, or was this when they were closed? Do we know yet? Because the first reports didn't say if there was any that perished.
Yeah, I do not know yet.
Yeah, so we'll find out, and we'll follow it up. And then Russian military tire factory on fire. So this is why people are on Twitter asking questions if these are, possibly connected or on purpose or groups doing it. The enterprise produces tires for military aircraft and vehicles. The fire broke out on the morning of December 9th around 5 a.m. By 10 a.m., firefighters said that they had to contain the fire on an area of 1,000 square meters. Noting that their work is made more difficult by low temperatures and heavy smoke. Initially, the fire broke out in one of the shops of the tire plant, but when firefighters arrived at the scene, the fire had already engulfed a 4-story building and continued to spread further. 110 people and 33 pieces of equipment were involved in attempting to get the blaze under control. 3 people were rescued from the plant. They were not injured. No casualties have been reported. So again, it made actual military parts, so that one is more sus than anything else. And then, let's see here. We have Griner bout swap, not sign of improving U.S.-Russia ties. Dex, do you want to go over this real quick?
Well, yeah. So I think, the Vlad side, or the Kremlin, so to speak, came out and wanted to make sure it was absolutely clear that just because we did a deal and we brokered a prisoner swap for one of their prisoner swaps, that did not mean our relationship had gotten any better. So they didn't want people around the world to think that because we were now negotiating that the relations had gotten better or had gotten stronger. They really want to come out and say absolutely not. It's not a sign of improving.
Yeah, they just wanted their bout back. Victor Bout was exchanged for U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner. We talked about that at length on yesterday's show. So we have a video by Survival Living that I'm going to load up here real quick. While I am doing that, I just want to remind you, make sure to go over and check out Energy. If you do not have a system to back up your power, we recommend getting a solar generator because it is limitless power as long as the sun rises, you will have power coming in. And you do not have to store gas or purchase gas at $5 a gallon. Also, it is silent, which means these generators run nearly inaudible. Meaning nobody's going to hear it from 3 blocks away. You can run them inside your home, which means you can, of course, have them stealth mode quietly in a house, in a bedroom, and nobody from outside is going to know. We imagine, SHTF happening, and if that did happen, a lot of people will not have generators, will not have power, and they'll be desperate. That's in an SHTF situation. Even in a bad storm, these are incredible to use. We have lost power so many times, and I've never been in a place where we've lost power more. Over just the last like month and a half, we've lost power like 4 or 5 times. And this has come in handy. Now, I don't have the Kodiak X2. This is the newer product that's all built in one. The battery is built inside. This one you can't add to, but they have built in a bigger battery. So this really is going to be enough for most people's needs. As far as the battery, it can go from 0 to 100% in 75 minutes. Again, it has 6,000 charge cycles. So if you use this from 100 to 0 every single day for 16 years, they say the big selling point on this is that it would still have 80% capacity of its battery, which at 80%, you would still be at, I believe, at the level of one of the Flex 1500 batteries. So pretty impressive. That means that if you are not using it every day, and if you use this in emergencies, this could last decades upon decades upon decades. Even if you are using it, it will last 2 decades at least. And it will still be running. UPS seamless power backup supply. UPS uninterrupted power supply means that it will immediately switch over. This is great for van lifers or RVers as well. When your power goes out, it will immediately switch over and keep everything going. Also, the system Flex 1500, that is also available, but any of these contain lithium. As far as the Flex 1500, that's modular. It can be extended up to 96 batteries. Definitely go check that one out. That's the one I have. That one you can add to over the years. You can buy more batteries. You can just keep expanding it until you get as much power as you need. These are not cheap. They're built like trucks. They are built with advanced technology. They're built with advanced lithium technology, and they've lasted a very long time. They're incredibly well made. They're really built. They're built like a truck, I have to say. These things, though, are as well not cheap. They're an investment. They're something that are going to last for years and keep you powered through disasters. So make sure to go check it out. And that is even why it's better to go through us, because you can get up to $170 off on certain packages. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy and use the code Marfoogle. 1, you're protecting yourself. 2, you're helping independent media. And 3, you end up saving yourself some money. So make sure to go over and check it out. Make sure to put in that code Marfoogle. All right, and then we have a piece. I asked Survival Living to do a video. We want to make sure that we're also providing, info on how to deal with some of this. So I'm going to play this now. This is Survival Living. If you don't know, his channel is absolutely awesome. And let's start this up.
Know if our grid is preparedness. All right, Foogle fam, welcome back. Survival Living here. So today I want to discuss winter preparedness. The fact is, we don't know if our grid is going to be there for us when we need it. Our power grid. Recent events, yeah, no power. All right, so let's go ahead and discuss some of the things that I recommend as a prepper, things that we actually do here at the house. I don't just tell you what you need to do as a prepper and preparedness. I actually show you what we do. So one of the first things is a gasoline generator. All right, so apology for the wind, it's windy down here. All right, so this is a gasoline generator, probably one of the most easiest and effective ways, and also easier financially as far as a alternative power source for your home. So this is a gasoline generator. This is done by Harbor Freight. It's a Predator model, 3200 watt, 4000 peak watt. They have many different types out there. They have gasoline, tri-gas, straight diesel. There's all kind of generators to pick from. But having a source of power, something you can put gasoline in, fire up, and power up parts of your home is definitely key in winter survival. Grid down scenarios, all right, having a generator. So with a generator, of course, you need to keep up your service on, keep your oil changed, keep your filters changed, keep your spare parts. This one here, we just had to reservice and repair a few months back because the voltage regulator inside had went out on us. So it was a real easy fix. We were able to purchase the part ourselves, change it out, got her going again. Along with gasoline generators, I need to give you this bit of information. Do not run these things indoors. Do not run them inside your carport, inside, the enclosed garages. Don't do that. Produces carbon monoxide, all right? Make sure they're used outdoors, well ventilated area. Now with a generator, you got to make sure you keep fuel on hand. So behind me here, 30 gallons of gas. Now how long does that last? Not long at all. A tank on this generator behind me here is 3 gallons. I can get 8 to 12 hours. I can get 8 running on full load, 12 running half load. So let's just round it down to 2.5 gallons. That's half a day. That's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days worth of fuel at 30 gallons. So it is nice to have a gasoline generator, but it is not the end all be all. That's a lot of fuel just for 3 days. Now, if you have a major outage and you're snowed in, power's knocked out, it's going to be a little bit longer than 3 days before that snow is removed so you can get out of your location. And next up, I would recommend a solar generator. All right, as preppers, we stockpile a lot of things. Now, with a solar generator, you don't have to worry about gasoline, fuel. You don't have to worry about carbon monoxide poison. You can run these things inside your home. You store them inside your home. There's no fumes. These things are awesome. Now, what I will say about a solar generator, this is known as a kilowatt meter or kilowatt meters, depends on the brand. This is a $20 item. You can pick them up on Amazon, Walmart, Harbor Freight, Lowe's, Home Depot. $20 item. You plug this into your wall, and then you plug in your appliance. You run it. It'll tell you exactly how much watts you use and how many amps you use. This information you need before you go buy a solar generator or before you build your own solar system. Having the numbers and exactly the demand of power you need, that's what you do first, and then you make your purchases on top of that. Now, for the more mechanically and tech savvy, building your own solar grid, having your own independent solar grid. I cannot recommend this enough. This is where we first started. We started building ours many years ago, playing around with it, trying to figure out how to make it all work. And finally, we got proficient at it, had enough education and learning and trial and errors of what not to do. Yeah, that happens. We finally built our own. I do recommend this. Having an independent system, something that you know you've always got power. You got power stored up in the battery banks. You have a large enough inverter. You have enough panels to supply the power that you need. Having your own solar grid is probably one of the best investments I've ever done as a prepper. And it doesn't take much to take it apart. We carry ours in our trailer. We can back right up to it with our vehicle and drive off with it. Awesome. Now, with the solar grid, I do recommend going to EMP shield and protecting your solar grid. That EMP shield protects you from lightning strikes, protects you from coronal mass ejections, protects you from EMPs. Having these things so that you know that your solar will always be safe is very important. The fact is, our world is changing in many different levels. The threat of conflict is always in the horizon. Having a way to power up things in your home is a very smart thing to do. So we are in our outdoor kitchen. This is something else I want to show you. Having power, having a way of cooking food, having a way of keeping food cool during a outage during this winter. All right, so we've got the portable buddy heater. This is the Mr. Heater. This is propane. These things are nice to have. If you want one, they're easy to find. You can find them on Amazon, Walmart, easy to find. These things here, I will put the warning out there for everybody. It uses propane. Burning propane creates carbon monoxide. So again, well ventilated area. There's a lot of people that like to say they like to use it indoors. Make sure you have a well ventilated area. That's just the ground rules. You've got gas burning. Now behind me, over here, we've got a cook stove. This is propane as well. When the power's out, you have the availability to cook food. Propane again, well ventilated area. And over here, this is a cooler. Let me swing the camera around. Right here. This here is a 12-volt system. This is what we used in our trailer before we upgraded. This thing will drop down the temperature inside this cooler a 40-degree drop below ambient temperature. So you have a way of keeping food cool, at least until the power is restored. So having something like this is awesome. Now, all this stuff we run off of solar. You might be able to hear a inverter. Yeah, we run solar on everything. All this stuff, solar. Now, we could hook it up to our gasoline generator if we needed to, plug it into our plug receptacle here, and we could power all this stuff up with a gasoline generator, or since we have solar banks, we just run it that way. Now, when it comes to food and water, you need to get this stuff put back. The fact is, most Americans, they say, by study-wise, only has up to 3 days worth of food in their home at any given time. That's not enough in a disaster. You need to be stockpiling food. Now, you don't have to prepare for the full-blown apocalypse. What you need to do is prepare for natural disasters. All right? Anything from hurricanes to winter storms. In this video, we're talking about winter storms. When you get snowed in, or the power gets knocked out because of snow and ice, it's going to be a while before that power is restored. How much food do you have in your home? All right? You're responsible for feeding your family, taking care of your family. I always recommend getting at least a year's supply of canned goods and dry goods in a rotational stock. This is normal food. This is normal food that you can cook with. This is normal food that you eat. A rotational stock is where you're constantly using the food and rotating it out. You'll never hit a best by date. You'll never hit an expiration date as long as you're using it on a daily basis. Now, for those that don't want to go down that route, they want to just go with a long-term food storage option, something that with a 25-year shelf life that they can just put in a box somewhere, stick in a closet. There's a lot of companies out there. I know Marfoogle TV is actually with My Patriot Supply. Hey, My Patriots is actually a good product. If that's the option you want to go, you just want to go buy a supply of that and stick it somewhere, there's nothing wrong with that. That food lasts for up to 25 years. My recommendation as a prepper, make sure you keep it temperature controlled. Don't stick it out in a barn somewhere out in the property. If you have fluctuating temperature, even on long-term food storage, highs and lows in temperature, you'll actually cut that shelf life down very fast. And that food will go bad on you because of the fluctuating temperature. So you want to keep it in your home or a controlled environment. And Dex, Adam, definitely do appreciate y'all having me here on your show. To Fugel fam, much love. Y'all keep at it. Adam, appreciate all the news that you bring to us. Keep at it. It definitely saves us a lot of time as preppers. Something we can just put on in the background while we're working. Usually we're mylaring a bunch of food up. But having the information come in is a big plus. Thanks a lot.
And again, that was Survival Living. He's a good friend of ours. He does a really great job. He is trained, and he does a ton of great videos on, the actual options of what to do, how to solve things. That video, he not only went over gas-powered generators and solar generators, but he also went over some of the different options. It's hard to think that a lot of people don't know about, running gas-powered generators or gas-burning things inside, but they lose people every single year because of that. So I'm glad that he mentioned that. And again, it is something that is quite scary as far as carbon monoxide. That's why most of you have a detector in your house, because it is the silent killer. We actually knew our friends up by our cabin. There was another cabin nearby where the entire family was found, luckily in time, where the entire family was passed out, and their neighbor came by to actually ask to borrow something and saw them inside the window, and all three of the family members were on the couch passed out like they had just fallen over. And luckily they broke in and got them out, and they started breathing. The whole family, the entire family of 6 would have died that day. Can you just imagine that? A family of 6, the entire line of family, grandma, 3 generations just gone like that in something like that. So it's pretty freaky. Make sure to get your detectors checked in your house just in general. We had a scare last year, and that was just because those detectors, they'll go off and they have different codes for whatever is going on. The code for the sensor being needed replaced and the battery's dead and then everything else, the one for the filter being replaced is almost inaudible. You can't tell the difference between that and carbon monoxide. They have like time, every 15 seconds it will do this, 30 seconds. And we thought that we had carbon monoxide in our house, and we had the firefighters come in with their full suit and armor and their gas things, and they said, no, you just need a new sensor. It was pretty freaky. So make sure to do that, something that, we've personally experienced outside of our family. And then backfired, Putin's prison recruits spiral out of Russia's control. It says that Russia's most deranged gambit in its war against UKR is rapidly turning into a crisis as military leaders lose control over the prison inmates freed in exchange for a stint in the battlefield. This is like straight out of the movies where they take hardened criminals and they say, okay, well, you can get a shortened sentence or you're free after your 2-year stint in the military if you go out there and fight. They say that about 20 armed inmates fled from the front line in occupied Donetsk in recent days, and the Russian military was forced to launch a manhunt for members of its own team, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of UKR said Thursday. So remember, this is coming from UKR's side. Of course, they would say that it wasn't working and that they did something very stupid, but 3 of the fugitives were ill in the ensuing search, UKR authorities said, Riley noting, beat your own so that others are afraid, as they say. They have the weirdest like back and forth little comments about each other. It's like old school like insults. Some of the ones that we've covered, like when one of Russia's airfields got bombed or something, and UKR said that they were probably smoking too many cigarettes, and just weird Russian and UKR insults. And then FBI looking for any ties between the power facility shootings in the North and in the South Carolinas. It says workers work on equipment at the West End substation. That was the one in North Carolina at Duke Energy, where a serious attack on critical infrastructure has caused a power outage to many around Southern Pines. It says the FBI is analyzing shell casings found near power facilities in North Carolina and South Carolina. A law enforcement memo revealed on Friday after North Carolina gunfire led nearly 96 hours of darkness in one county. The, quote, targeted attacks at 2 Duke Energy substations in Moore County, North Carolina on Saturday night knocked out power to 45,000 homes and businesses before local electricity was restored. It says, and this was the last of those darkened nights were coming on. Shots were fired near Duke Energy's Watery Hydro Station in Ridgeway, South Carolina, about 130 miles south of Moore County. It says no one lost power in that one, but there is no indication whether the North Carolina and the South Carolina attacks have any connection. Well, how about that it's right up the road, 130 miles up? You have an attack in North Carolina and then one a short drive away in South Carolina. It's probably connected. That's just my thoughts. What are yours? I'd love to hear your opinions. It says, Beer Juice says, Adam, it's just some good old boys hunting possum. Yeah, because they're just kicking it on top of the substations. Yeah, it's possum season, or it's dinner time. You never know. 130 miles is not a short drive. 60 miles an hour, that's a 2-hour drive, and it happened a day later. I mean, that's if you're going 60 miles an hour, that's a 2-hour, 2.5-hour drive. That's a short drive. A long drive would be if it happened, if the California one, you'd probably not connect to the one in North Carolina, and especially if it was 24 hours later. As far as being able to drive 2.5 hours and attack another important substations, if that's what they're doing, they say that the attack on the North Carolina ones, that they knew exactly what they were doing. In fact, one of the sheriffs said that it was almost like they were professionals. So you could take what they said from that. Another official said that they absolutely knew what they were doing. With this one, it sounds like they drove by and shot a shotty at it. Is it a copycat? Is it something where, somebody else said, yeah, screw them, and did it? I don't know. But what I do know is there's the possibility that these attacks could be used to further this thing where they're saying that the United States has people inside of it that are citizens that are basically trying to take down the rest of the United States. And whether that's true or not, I'm not going to debate that, but it very well could be used to further certain agendas. I hope that's not the case, but it is pretty wild. And then, Dex, do you have any comments about the North and the South? And now we're hearing rumors of 130-something attacks, just in recent times compared to the last 12 years. Oh,
man, 2 years ago. Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you're there now.
Okay. Yeah, given what we reported with the NERC about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago about all of these types of events that have happened that are never reported in the media, like they're reported in private, so to speak, at least with the utilities, they're reported up into the government, they're filed into the NERC annual report, stuff like that. It makes me wonder if the rest of these that have happened or will happen, because it seems like a lot of them do, are actually going to get media coverage now, and they're going to turn this into a media event, in the sense it's sort of like when somebody gets bit by a shark, then all of a sudden every shark bite is major news for the next 3 months. And you would think the sharks were walking out on the beach and taking people down, when in reality, it's probably the same number of shark bites a year. It's just that it happens once they catch a cycle, then they all jump on that bandwagon. So I'm wondering how much of what normally, and I don't say any of this is normal, but how much of this that actually does happen on an annual basis, which it does, is going to start being appearing in the news. And we're going to get the semblance or this feeling that it's a lot. It's significant, because most people have never heard of this before. You rarely ever hear of anything. You hear of, power outages from a tree falling down or an accident or a transformer that blows, but you not really hear about these sabotages outside of cyber events. So that's what I'm thinking, is we need to watch this and see if we start hearing, they're just coming out of the woodworks everywhere. And is that a way to paint a picture, so to speak, of something that may not really be as organized as they may make it out to be?
And we'll follow it. And I think it's weird that it's coming out, especially since all of these have been hidden and sheltered from the public. Why are they coming out with them now? Other than if it was such a big event, they couldn't hide it. They could totally say that county had a technical issue or something, but I guess it's a little bit harder to do when it's 2 substations and not just one, because there's been attacks like this and they have not been publicized. They don't even go to the news. The news does not cover them because they're not allowed to. It goes to the Department of Energy, and then it stops there. The buck stops at DOE. And then mysterious ground shaking booms in New Jersey caused by supersonic Navy test, or at least that's what they say. It says the flight path isn't a blast for some Jersey residents. Mysterious ground-shaking booming sounds that reportedly rattled New Jersey homes this week were likely caused by supersonic testing. They say likely. They don't know for sure. But we've heard and felt these booms here. I did at least once, and it was very, very odd. They had nothing on flight radar. And then people all over the country, please let me know in the chat. Have you experienced either the loud horns in the sky or the booms or mystery shaking underneath your feet, and then your town or your city doesn't explain it at all? I would love to see if anybody else has experienced this. I did at least once, and it was very, very freaky. They suggested it could be a supersonic test that was classified, or that their transponders were turned off, but it's happened a lot more than most people think. There's whole websites that keep track not only of the mystery booms, but of course, the horns in the sky and everything else. Jay the Messiah says yes. Hello from Carolina. Great advice at Slot Carmen. This is my commitment. By the way, if you live in North Carolina, please let me know. And we had a couple of people that lived in that county. They said thank you for covering the news. I would love to get your opinion on what actually happened. I would love for you to call in on the next call-in. And then it looks like we already have callers lined up. Tammy Denek, Gretchen Von O grew up in those booms testing were normal. We didn't pay any attention. So we're not talking about like loud explosion booms. We're talking about the entire house shakes and it's not next to a testing facility. That's what's freaky about them. And we're talking about whole houses shaking, and then the news covers it, and they say there is zero explanation for it. It's very, very odd. Some areas, though, if you live next to a testing facility or something like that, you feel them all the time, but you know what it is. So it said the bizarre earthquake-like vibrations most felt intensely in the state's southern section Monday came as the military branch experimented with an ultra-high-speed aircraft near the Jersey Shore. Weird. Executing supersonic test points above the Atlantic Ocean, roughly 3 miles from the Garden State's coastline. So they say it was this new supersonic flight path. Do you believe it? Let me know in the comments down below. And then we have a caller lined up, a very special one, in just a second. Do want to remind you, just real quick, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP if you want to protect your cars, your trucks, your devices, your generators, whether it be gas, or if you get the Flex 1500, they actually make a specific EMP shield for that. This can protect you against not only EMP, all 3 phases of an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, but it can also protect you against a Carrington level event, which means when something like this happens, what will happen is the EMP shield will ground the signals from the device in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car, fry your house, fry your generators. They even make one for your ham radio. If you have something that you want to survive an EMP or CME or even a lightning strike, then put one of these on it. marfooglenews.com/EMP. You will get $50 off per device. So if you have a bunch of cars and a bunch of family members that you need to outfit, that's definitely a great savings because it is per device. All right, and that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Let's go to our next caller, Bones. Let's get Bones on the phone. Bones, are you there?
And Adam, I'm getting Bones on the line. I had a technical issue on my end. There he is.
No problem. And by the way, I have a huge storm rolling through, so I've had everything cut out here for a couple seconds. Bones, what's going on, man?
Howdy.
So let's see here. So you want to?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So we got some pictures, Bones. This is Bones, wonderful guy, awesome creator, great mod. What is happening and what's going on with this? These pictures, pictures or videos? Let's see here.
Oh, pictures. Should be pictures.
Okay. Let's see here.
So those are. I don't know if you have them up yet.
I will in just a second. Let's see. All right. So just explain what we will be looking at.
Well, that's it's a trailer that is actually a generator. It's a full trailer. Runs on diesel. I don't know if you have it. I can't see if you have it up. So.
Okay. So now we're looking at it.
Okay. Yep. So those are generators. They have fleets of those that go to certain points in the U.S. where they need them. They're contracted through whatever, like Department of Energy or other companies, and those guys are actually on call. So anytime that the power goes out in a certain area with depending on what size the area is, they actually are on call to go to those places. They could be there within a day.
So so this and that black trailer there, that's what that is?
Yeah, that's the generator.
Huh. And so I guess where was this seen?
That was in Tennessee, heading east on I-40.
So what do you think that this is? They're possibly using it to back something up, or it's not a good sight to see, right? Because it might be because of a possible event, or I guess this is a huge
it could be.
Generator.
Yeah, those are huge. And if you look at the numbers, there's numbers on that picture that are there right now, and that is number like 574 of 627. So that actually means that they have 627 of those units through that company or within the trailers that they bought through that company.
Wow. And then it runs on biodiesel. So then these things, if they were needed somewhere, they could ship it out in mere minutes and then have it drive to wherever they need it.
Yep. So basically, if I were one of those drivers and I was on call and I was based where I'm based right now, I could be in North Carolina or South Carolina by like later tomorrow morning.
So here's one thing. So you drive all over. You're a truck driver, and you see a whole lot of stuff. Now, over the last couple shows, I don't know if you caught it, but all the Foogle fam members from around the country are either sending in or showing pictures of generators being moved in huge convoys of military generators. Do you think that is unusual, or do you see that a lot?
I've been seeing that a lot within the past 3 months. I did get pictures of, I think I sent it in on our thing, but I've gotten pictures of transformers going everywhere. Heck, in one day, I've probably seen about 7 trailers of transformers just moving around the country.
Okay, so
So I see the generators and, I mean, like, so there's the big ones, like what you see there. And then there's the smaller, like, ones that they rent from places on trailers. I've seen those too. I just seen yesterday 2 trailers of the rental generators. Now, sometimes it's too fast. I can't get a picture of it, whatever.
Now, how long have you been driving?
I've been driving about, 20 years. Actually, 20 years this month.
And what you're saying is in the last 3 months, you've seen more than you've ever seen before, or have you ever had a time like this before?
Yeah. More than I've ever seen on the road.
And just curious, how many states do you end up covering?
So lately, because of I have been sick and here and there, so I've been running Ohio, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, part of Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and Indiana.
So you covered a lot of land. I just wonder, if they are going to be well prepared if our grid does go down, if things have changed since that last kind of the FERC report, which said that, all of us would perish and everything else. You would think that would kick people, kick their butts into gear and have them ready. So if our power does go down, our grid goes down, will they be able to have enough, generators and things and transformers into place to be able to fix that? Experts say it's unlikely because it's such a huge grid, but they will definitely be able to have generators like this power up their military bases or government buildings if they need it. And of course, drivers like you to drive places. But that's assuming that, an EMP or CME doesn't take out the trucks. Go ahead.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is, so say, for instance, I'm a driver, and I can drive up to or around, my highest amount of driving miles per day has been about 730 miles or so, somewhere in there, if I run out my toll clock on that. Now, when you get to the drivers that haul these generators, if there's an emergency, they have emergency exemption to where they can run out further. So, say for instance, that driver could possibly go 1,000 miles.
So just for argument's sake, would 130 miles, would that be a short drive for you?
Yes, very short.
You saw Ilea's comments. She said 130 miles isn't a short drive. But I guess it depends. Like my mother-in-law, if she has to drive 10 miles, she's like, "Oh, I'm not going on a road trip." And I'm like, it's right down the road. Oh, I'm not going to drive all the way to the city. It's like 15 miles. It's like short. Well,
So, I
Bone,
live
go ahead.
in Jackson, Michigan. So I can drive from here to Madison, Wisconsin in about 6 hours.
That's incredible. Sorry, I just had to change over a battery real quick. Well, Bones, out of everything, because you've been around for a long time in the Fugel fam, do you just, I ask almost every caller, do you think that we are getting close to something big?
Oh, we're already in it. It's already started, whatever it is. You can't quite tell what it is because, things happen, and some can be unexplained, some can be explained. You just never know. All you can do is be prepared for it.
And then, Dex, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, since we have you on the line, Bones, and you're a truck driver, did you happen to catch the Elon presentation of the new Tesla Semi that they launched and they drove the first 500 miles with?
I have not caught that, but I do know that I think it's Pepsi has a contract of getting the first so many 100 Teslas or so whatever. I think it's Pepsi.
I think you're right. I think we covered that about a week ago, and it's pretty alarming. I would think it would be alarming to a truck driver if they end up starting to replace even your job with autonomous trucks, and you'll probably see 20 of these in line with each other, at least for the next 20 years, that don't want to pay up for a Tesla and that don't want to update. But that's if some law doesn't change that makes them. You know what I mean? Like, what if they start making it happen?
What the problem is with the Tesla trucks is there's only one place at that point. If they're charging them at their terminal, there's no other places to charge those trucks because the stations that they have, throughout the country, those won't be able to. I've understood it. Those won't be able to charge the bigger trucks. So how are they going to get them charged? Is the question.
Well, I just wonder if there will be some sort of contraption that ends up helping it charge while it drives, other than like regenerative braking. I guess that they came out with a new system that I saw a short on, and instead of braking, get this, it would be speed bumps. So any bumps in the road would actually, your suspension, it pushes it back up and down, and it would be able to charge a semi, an electric semi. Look it up. It's a trip, because any bump in the road would end up charging the semi and creating power. So between that and regenerative braking, I wonder if that would help. But yeah, that's something that if they start building them like crazy everywhere, then I would start to worry. But I think you're right. Right now, it's not set up for it. But look at how fast now
I think the
chargers are everywhere.
Well, I was going to say, the couple of things I noticed, and Bones, I'm not a trucker, so I have very little experience with what you do. But from what I saw, the nice things about the tech was acceleration up grades and not using brakes going down the grade. So you don't have any brake burn out or whatever, where you burn up your brakes going down the mountain, because the electric motor handles all of that, and there's no really need to use the brakes.
Well, also with diesel trucks, we have what's called a Jake brake, and many will probably recognize that the name. But there's a compression brake in the motor which slows down the truck going down the hill, which actually doesn't use the brakes. It's basically the same concept of the Jake brake for the compression for the engine.
Right.
So that too. And the reason why I laughed at the part where the bumps is we've got so many highways in this country that are bumpy.
And they're already made for it. They're built. It's built in. We don't have to go at them.
Pretty much. Yep.
Well, Bones, it was a pleasure to have you on. And again, everybody needs to go over and check out Bones' channels. He is over also on marfugglenews.com/friends. Bones, thanks for coming on today. And again, thanks for the pictures.
My pleasure. And I will send in more pictures as I get them. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get pictures because they're actually going the opposite way. So this one actually was nice because it was going the same way I was, and he was actually going back and forth because I would go ahead of him and he'd go ahead of me, depending on traffic though. So.
Well, again, when you can catch it, let us know and get us the pictures, and that goes to any other Foogle fan member as well. If you have pictures or video, you can also submit it at marfugglenews.com/playmyvideo, and then we can play it here on the show and even attach it to the website. Well, thank you, Bones, and as always, thank you for being awesome, and thank you for being here for now 4 years or such. I want to say over 4 years, but thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys for putting all this stuff out.
Well, thank you. That was Bones. He is available over at marfugglenews.com/friends, and he is actually one of the lucky ones alphabetically. He's up at the very, very top. Very easy to go and subscribe. Just click that button and go, boom. I don't want to click it because I would unsubscribe, but make sure to go subscribe. He does a lot of great stuff. He covers a lot of different subjects, and then also he has a lot of other creative outlets. You can also click, and it actually has his link for his TikTok as well. All right, Dex, thank you. Why don't we go over the web only? There's a lot of stuff down there.
There's a lot. Let me hit it quickly, guys. Don't go anywhere. You want to go over to marfugglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, open up that description on YouTube and Rumble, and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. This page has all the news we just covered. Down below, it'll have all the caller information. You'll have links to survival living and wages and the content they had. But look, there's a lot going on. There's a ton happening in the realm of the Elon saga, what's been going on with Twitter. There's new files that have come out again. There's updates with SBF or Sam Bankman-Fried, and what's happening with that. There's a little bit of political coverage. AJ has come out and said how much he can afford to pay, which isn't a lot. And back to the leaks. There's some leaking that's happening with the data around Twitter, apparently, as well as BlackRock has something important to say. So if you want to know what they're saying and you want to know everything else I didn't tell you, because I didn't give it all to you, it's right here on the website. Go to marfugglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and you will see everything we put together for you in every show.
So somebody was right, and so they said, "Isn't BlackRock, going into bankruptcy, something like that?" Go read that, because it says BlackRock says, "Get ready for a recession unlike any other, and what worked in the past won't work now." They're basically saying we're about to collapse. So go read that last article on marfugglenews.com. I won't be doing a shoutro tonight because my music system is completely screwed up right now. But I do have one that I made last night in response to to a comment. I actually made the intro quite cheesy. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for your service. Thank your mods down below, like Ilea, Bones, and Lisa R. Hall, and everybody else. Thank you so much. RJL Harris, been making a lot of shows lately. Thank you so much. Dex, again, thank you for your work, and thank you for your time.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Music, cheesy, cheesy, cheesy intro music, cheesy, cheesy intro music, cheesy, cheesy, cheesy intro music, cheesy, cheesy, cheesy intro music. Dum 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 dum. It actually looks like I think it's because we're going through a storm. Everything just updated, and it looks like I missed people. So I do want to say a very special thank you before I go. In fact, Dex, if you could not switch over, I don't know if you, I hope you didn't, but if not, we'll make sure to shout all of you out tomorrow as well.
We're still good.
Okay, thank you, Crazy L. I appreciate you. Looks like we actually just lost power. Luckily, I had it switch over. It came back on. Okay, cool. Crazy L, thank you so much. I appreciate your support tonight. Happy Friday, Fooglers. K. Holmes. Vic says, I don't know how anyone could live through these times and think you're fear monger. It pisses me off. Wake up, people. Seen 2 Blackhawks and 5 Chinooks. Remember, most of all, Jesus is the rock. Kenny Crowder. Love to talk to you. I don't know if you messaged me on Twitter yet. Good evening, Adam and Foogle fam. Best mods on YouTube. Hug and kiss the ones that you love. Be safe and love your way. And then K. Holmes again. Happy Friday. The volcanoes are blowing. Yes, last night's show covered it in depth, Kilauea and Mauna Loa. And then always love all of the info. Carol McLean, I just want to say special thanks to you. Thank you for making it almost every show. B-Roll Beast, good evening to all. Much love. God bless. And, of course, K. Parker Frazier, I want to thank you especially for making a ton of shows. Not much, just a token of my appreciation to Adam, Dex, and the mods. You're the best. And then Blue Boy 1968 Chapel, thank you. It says, another great show like always, Adam. I hate to think that Australia had a big part of China building up its navy to the biggest navy in the world by selling our iron ore to them. It was a bad move, what that was. Thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody over on DLive, which also updated. It looks like we had Thompson 3554, Vicky Bruick or Vicky K. Thank you so much. End Times, thank you so much. Chance and Jammer, thank you. Love you guys, and be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Music, cheesy, 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 music, cheesy, 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 music, cheesy, 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 music. I use Marfoogle news. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse wrong. Marfoogle news, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle news. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse wrong. Marfoogle news, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle